So welcome to this video. This is all about the 75-day challenge. And if you are looking or are ready for a transformation or ready to have your own comeback story or just need a kick-ass dose of motivation to help you get to wherever your goals are, this video is for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down what the challenge is about, and I'm also going to talk about how to get through the 75-day challenge, understanding how our brain works and understanding how when we learn new things, there's a bit of a learning curve and what that looks like throughout the 75 days. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening. And if you decide to join, feel free to reach out to me anytime, and you can find our challenge on our social media sites under InnerFit75 on Instagram, also on TikTok. So just to give a little bit of a backstory about the 75 challenge. Now, I've done a lot of challenges as a business owner since 2007. We've done a 90-day challenge. We've done a 42-day challenge. I did two 365-day challenges. A lot of my community joined us in the 365-day challenge. When I did that one, actually is how I lost the majority of my weight. So I firmly believe, as a coach with 25 years experience in the fitness industry, I firmly believe in challenges. The reason I believe in challenges is because they give us a specific period of time in order to focus on our health and our fitness and our mental wellness and our emotional wellness, and as well a little bit of our spiritual wellness. So the 75 challenge itself is actually one of those challenges that went viral, and for good reason. It allowed us to give a period of time that was doable, which is 75 days, because anybody who takes on a 365-day challenge, that's a long period of time. So Andy Frisella, who's a very well-known podcaster, he has an amazing podcast called Real AF as fuck, and he has a very successful business. But if you've ever actually listened to his story about how he became a CEO and his journey himself, I've always loved listening to his podcast. So he's one of those really great influential people that I would listen to as a business owner myself. He wanted this challenge to really create a transformative mental toughness challenge, which is why it's called the 75 Hard, and really to help people build habits. His inspiration for the actual 75 Hard came from the Iron Cowboy. Now, if anybody's watched his documentary, James Lawrence did 50 Ironmans in 50 days. Now, I've watched it a long time ago. It was amazing to watch how he did it. He did 50 Ironman in 50 days, traveling around the world. I still to this day don't know how he accomplished that, but as a marathon runner myself, kudos to him, because that is an amazing feat. So the 75 Hard actually came about after this interview that Andy had done with him. So I think it's important to recognize that this is about a little bit of mental toughness. And then what we're doing with InnerFit is to obviously give credit where credit is due, but also to take the 75 challenge and give a little bit of our own spin to it, and also make it a place where people can join us in terms of the starter challenge and the soft challenge. And maybe you'll lead up to his challenge, which is the 75 Hard, and take that on as well. So learn about him, learn about his story, check out his podcast and his websites. Really cool guy to listen to, and don't judge a book by its cover, because you may first see him and think he's one of those muscle meathead guys. He's definitely not. And he'll share his story through that. So really great thing to listen to. Now, when it comes to the 75 challenge, the things that I think are really important to understand is that the 75-day challenge will help you move forward. So if you're feeling like you're in a bit of a rut, or you're stuck with your fitness goals, or you feel like, you work out a little bit, but you just don't have that consistency, the whole point of this challenge is to really help build up motivation, really help with our mental and emotional well-being, and also create that mojo that I think a lot of us want to create. So, but what I want to do before I even talk more about the actual 75 challenge itself is to really help people understand what takes place during a challenge and break it down so that we have a different idea of what a challenge is really about. And that has to do with our neural pathways in our brain. I know it's a bit of a shift, but it's really important to understand when you're taking on a challenge what it's going to look like so that you are the most successful you can be. Now, behind my head in this video, it says day 75. Now, anytime us adults take on something new, we always think that we should be able to learn it instantly. So we take on a language, it's like, I should know how to do that instantly. Or we try something new, like maybe we learn how to ski first. We have this idea that I should be good at it right away. And our brain, our beautiful, big, beautiful brains, they just don't work like that. Our brains are designed to build and strengthen these neural pathways. And when they do that, then we solidify them and then they become part of our life. But when we're learning something new or we're taking on something new, like any type of challenge, whether it's a 75 or a 90 or 42-day challenge, or deciding one day you want to become really good at push-ups, it's understanding that our brain has to create the neural pathway first. So now I like to use this analogy because for me, I find this helps me when I'm learning something new, because it kind of gives me the ability to step back and appreciate how far I've come, and also to sit back and realize this is not easy no matter what we're doing. Because if you're thinking about fitness or you're thinking about weight loss or nutrition, you're wanting to change something, people think that if you do like a diet, all of a sudden you're going to become instantly a better eater and you're going to become, be able to stick to this diet. And it doesn't work like that. We have to learn how to eat properly. We have to learn how to perform fitness really well. We have to create routines. We have to build new habits. And not only that, the biggest part that we need to understand is that we have these old neural pathways that are hardwired, and they can be generational. They can be from years of doing the same thing over and over again. So if you're sitting on a couch and you're struggling to understand why you can't get from the couch to the gym and why you feel like you're always fighting this over and over and over again, is because you don't have that neural pathway yet that's going to help you get to wherever it is that you want to go. Now, this is something that we're going to build, and you do this through things like a 75-day challenge. And that's why I'm actually really excited about this for my own community, because I would love to help us get from the point where we learn to act, and we, take on whatever is coming in front of us. But again, that is a learned skill. So for instance, let's do something simple. Let's say, when I go to ask people, who wants to go do the gross grind, I get two responses. I get people who are like, yes, let's do it, I'm in. And then I get people that like, no way, I'm not doing it. The reason the people that say, yes, I'm in, I'm going to do it, is one, that they've learned that hard things are rewarding. So even if we've done the gross grind hundreds of times like I have, I still get to the point as I'm getting my way up to the gross grind, I still know it's going to be hard. I still know that I'm going to breathe, and it's going to be the ugly breathing, and I'm pushing myself and I'm uncomfortable. But I promised myself, because I know at the end, when I get to the top, it feels so incredibly rewarding to do hard things. But that was a learned thing that I had to learn. It wasn't something that came natural. So I have over the years understood that when things are hard and things are challenging, really good things come from it. Now, that may not be somebody's initial learned response. They may see something like the gross grind as being hard, and I'm not doing it, and there's no way I'm going to create discomfort for myself, and they've told themselves these stories. The sad part is they don't get the payoff that comes by doing hard things. So we have to learn to shift this mindset. So in order to shift this mindset, in order to understand how to create these new neural pathways, one, we have to understand that we're creating a new path. And I love the forest analogy. I heard it once before, and I thought this was a really great way to look at something. So if you take something like a 75-day challenge, or whatever days you want to do it on, divide that challenge into 4 groups. Now, day 1 to day 25 are going to be your hardest parts. This is because your brain is going to get uncomfortable, and it's going to keep telling you, stop doing this. People always say, like, I listen to your gut. Sometimes your gut doesn't serve you, because your gut could be conditioned to say, I don't want to be uncomfortable. But by being uncomfortable, you're missing out on all the amazing opportunities and all, like, how physically fit you are actually capable of becoming is what you're missing out on being. So that is why we really want to learn to create this new path, or clear out this new path. So when you start something like a fitness challenge, let's say you decide, I'm going to do the 75 soft challenge. If you walk into this challenge knowing that the first 25 days are not going to be easy, you are setting yourself up for success, because your mindset shift is, instead of being like, this is easy, and then when stuff gets hard, all of a sudden you turn around, you're like, this isn't easy, I'm going to quit. It changes everything. So if you walk into a challenge, you're like, I know these first 25 days are going to be hard. And they're hard because let's take a look at this diagram here. So at the other side, so point A is where you start and point B is this beautiful sunset. And that beautiful sunset is your goal or whatever it is that you want for yourself, not anybody else. This has to be for yourself that you want. You have to acknowledge that on day one, I am learning to clear a path. And what does it feel like to clear a path? It's going to be scary. It's going to be uncomfortable. So imagine yourself in a forest. Let's say you're wanting to see the sunrise. You're in a dark forest and you can't see any markers because there's been no markers put out yet. And all it is dense forest. And you don't know what is behind that dense forest. And these are all these fears that come up inside our bodies. And when we feel fear or we experience fear, we tend to turn around the other way and we run away from it. Instead, we want to learn how to clear a path. So as you start doing these things that are hard, so let's say you're taking on the 75-day challenge, as you start working your way through these checklists, these daily tasks that you do, you start to clear a path. And by clearing a path, I mean you start to mark the trees or, you start to move through the trees. And I'm not using a clear-cut example, but really just what I'm trying to say. We're starting to create this path. Now, when you start getting closer and closer to about a quarter of your way through or a third of the way through these challenges, you start to be able to carve out a path. And what that means is things get easier. It doesn't mean it's easy yet, but it means that things are getting easier. So if you're taking on something like a 75 hard challenge, for me, the water is going to be the biggest challenge, but it's going to be something that is going to get easier. Or maybe you're like, I'm just not a walker, but you're taking on the 75 hard and you're like, I'm going to make sure I walk every single day outside. I'm going to power walk for 45 minutes. That'll be my second workout. The first little while is not going to be uncomfortable. And the first second, maybe it rains or there's some crappy weather, you're going to want to call it quits. When you don't call it quits, you give yourself, it's like you're voting for yourself. It's like a vote of confidence. I got this. I can do this. And you start to have this new neural pathway or these new stories you're telling yourself. Yes, it's raining. Yes, I'm tired. Yes, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it anyways because the person you are becoming in this process is the person you've always wanted to become, but you just never took action. So when we take action by reinforcing these positive stories so the action is I'm going to go outside and I'm going to go for a walk and yes, it's raining. So you decided to go anyways. And then you reinforce it. Yeah, that was actually really wet and I'm soaked. And you have a little bit of fun with it. You embrace that it was wet and you embrace that, you still went outside and then you reward yourself by saying, I'm really proud of myself for actually doing that. The more we do that, and the same thing comes with nutrition and it comes with fitness, the more you show up to your workouts, the easier it becomes. When I first started teaching 6 a.m. 3 days a week, let me tell you, it was rough getting up at 4:45, especially because some of the evenings I teach until 8:30 at night. So for me, those were hard days. And the more I did it, the easier it became. And same thing with losing over 100 pounds. Keeping the weight off was the hard part. Losing the weight was probably easier than actually keeping the weight off. So you really start to carve out these paths. Now, what the beautiful thing that happens is now once you've moved past that hard period, so those first 25 days, and you start moving between days 25 to 50, you really start to notice how much easier things become. You only get here when you've done the hard work. This is not a magic formula. Nobody's giving you a handout. The only person that's coming to save you is you. The only person that's coming to do this work is you. And if we keep waiting for someone to do this work for us, like our coach or the gym supposed to do the barbell presses for us, it's not going to happen. So by day 50, what you start to notice is that the path actually becomes clear. Now you've marked where you're going. You know how to get there. You're starting to really move and you can really start to see what the outcome is going to look like. So in terms of fitness, maybe your clothes are feeling looser, or maybe you're having more energy, or maybe you're not as tight, or the pain has gone away, or the injuries have subsided, or the stories in your head are actually becoming more positive and more motivating, and you're really starting to see that path now. So watch for these changes around day 50. Now, when you start to get past day 50, this is when the magic starts to happen. This is when you have really carved out this path, and now you can see the end result, and you can hear people saying like, wow, I think like, what are you doing? Like that something's changed in you. They start to notice not just your physical changes, but they start to notice that like Maybe you don't tell as many excuses anymore, or maybe you're stopped telling yourself the same old story anymore. Somebody asked you to go work out and you're like, yeah, let's go. Or somebody asked you to go do a hike, you're like, yeah, let's go. Or before, if somebody even asked you to go for a walk, you'd be like, no, I'm too tired, and you watch your Netflix and hang out, right? You start to change your attitude, your stories start to change, your mental well-being starts to change, and then you start to get to day 75 and a whole lot of things have changed by focusing on very simple tasks. And that's what I love about the way that Andy wrote this challenge out, is that it's very clearly checked. These check boxes are very simple to do. And as you keep going through this, you keep building these habits, and these habits are these neural pathways that you're creating. And when you start to strengthen these new neural pathways, the old neural pathways, they don't go anywhere, but they start to become less dominant in your thinking. Now you've got this new train of thought, and that's the really cool piece. But if you notice on day 75, we still got a few trees here, right? So what do those trees represent? They represent that the struggle will always be there. So that doesn't mean just because you got to day 75 that it's always going to be perfect. They're a reminder that you worked really hard to get here, and let's stay here. But let's remind ourselves that we have certain things that may be these triggers for us. So maybe we need to just keep working on these pathways even well beyond this 75 days. These may be things that you need to work on for the rest of your life. And I know I hear this a lot with people when it comes to weight loss. Like, when I lose the weight, I wish I never had to think about it. That'd be great. That would be living in this, utopic world. That doesn't happen. I know when I lost a lot of my weight, I really had to work really hard to keep the weight off. And when I lost most of the weight, it happened kind of at the beginning of COVID. And then when COVID happened, it was like really learning to manage my mental well-being, my physical health, and keep the weight off, because it would have been really easy to just give it all up and go back to the way things were. And that's where that new path is. And that's what those trees represent, that no matter what you're doing, you're moving forward. So everybody's goals are going to be different. Now, somebody maybe has a goal for a physique. There's a look or a physique that they really want. Maybe somebody's goal is just to lose 20 pounds. Maybe somebody's goal is they want to be a hiker. The goal is irrelevant. It's the 75 days that are life changing. And that's why this isn't just a fitness challenge. This is, a little bit of a mental toughness challenge, but also understanding that it's really a neural pathway challenge. It's really about creating these neural pathways, understanding what this looks like, and then embracing this process. So over these next 75 days, you're really starting to see changes. Same thing with nutrition. A lot of people, when they start any of these challenges, what's the first thing that they do? They empty out their cupboards. They're saying, I'm never buying this crap again. I'm never drinking wine. I'm never eating sugar again. And then they go on this shopping spree. They fill up all their cupboards and all their food fridge with, fruits and vegetables. And what happens within 3 to 5 days? They rot in the fridge because you didn't create that neural pathway yet, right? What you want to do is you want to start introducing healthier foods, introducing healthier options, maybe leaning into something like intermittent fasting, where you do the 16 and 8, 16 hours of fasting a few days a week, and then you have that 8 hours of where you're eating healthy. And then you really start to figure out how your body works, what types of foods make you feel really good, and so forth and so forth. If you go on a diet, I promise you by day 3, you're going to crash and burn. It's not going to feel good. And when I say struggle between day 1 to day 25, I'm not meaning this should be sheer will. This should be a learning process that we embrace and that we engage in. So we're learning about ourselves and we're understanding. But if you're restricting yourself to the point where you're just going to fail, that's not going to be helpful. And the other really important thing to remember when you're creating new neural pathways and you're strengthening these things is that we learn through our mistakes. So if you're doing a 75-day challenge, especially if you're doing the hard, I know the TikTok world and everything about this challenge was if you screw up, you had to start again. That's not a belief system I hold true to my heart. And the reason is I go back to the research. The research shows us that when we make a mistake, and we learn about it and we think about it and we understand and we find a better way, we're learning. So it's not giving you a pass to be like, do whatever you want. But what it is, like, let's say you had 74 amazing days and one day didn't go great. That doesn't mean those 74 days didn't count, because those 74 days definitely build some strong neural pathways in your brain. And if you can take that one day, maybe that was like day 43. Day 43 was just part of my French, but a shit show. If you were to quit, you would have lost all that progress. I don't want you to quit, but I don't want you to give yourself an excuse either. What we do is we say day 43 did not go well, and here's why. And now that you've acknowledged here's why, second thing is take accountability. I chose to do this, not an excuse. I chose to do this. And here's how I'm going to do better. And here's how I'm going to make sure that I do my best so that doesn't happen again. And then you move forward. Okay. So that's how we learn. That's how we grow. So that's why a 75-day challenge can be really beneficial for your emotional well-being, your physical well-being, your mental well-being, and obviously your nutritional well-being, because we're just, working together and feeling together. And doing it with InnerFit and doing it with our group means that you get to do it with a supportive group and accountability and a community. So that can be one of the really great benefits. And our journals can help you succeed because they're just simple and they're a little checklist, which comes by joining. So that's where we're at. And then just to simply break down what the 3 ones are. So this one is the hard one. This is the hard version of it. But again, we've tailored it a little bit. Because again, I don't believe in if you screw it up, then you fail. That's not the point of it. The point is to make sure that we're moving forward. So within each challenge, we want to make sure that we're taking a progress photo so that you can see the changes. And this is where a journal can come in really handy too. Like take your progress photo, but journal at the end of the day. How did your day go? What things went really well? What things are you proud of? Each challenge has a workout. So your starter is just a 30-minute workout. It's committing to every day for the next 75 days, I'm going to work out for 30 minutes. That can be a weight workout. That can be a yoga workout. That can be a running workout, that can be a power walk. It doesn't matter. And remember, the 75 starter is not for beginners. It's for anybody. So anybody who wants to take on a challenge, but who isn't really ready for the other stuff, this is a great place to start. So you can be somebody who is very active, but just doesn't maybe have this, system in place. That's when you use the starter challenge just to kind of get these consistent habits and work on these neural pathways. So it doesn't have to be for beginners. Okay, it can be for anybody, but it's also really great for beginners as well. So everybody has a workout. The soft, you do one 45-minute workout as a minimum, and then the hard, you do 2 workouts. One is supposed to be outside. Again, I'm a little bit more lenient. Maybe the weather's not great, whatever, but it is 2 45-minute workouts. So it could be, a strength workout or a spin workout, or you could go outside and do a 45-minute walk. That's the part I would actually encourage, is getting outside for those 45 minutes. So if you can go outside and walk, power walk or run, that would be the best way to do that second workout for this challenge in particular. All of them focus on clean eating. And when I say clean eating, I mean choosing foods that make your body feel good and understanding your body and how it relates to what you need nutritionally. And that could be working with a professional, a registered holistic nutritionist or a dietitian, and helping you understand your body and what your requirements are. That could be doing something like the Fast This Way by Dave Asprey. It's a really great book. It talks about intermittent fasting, probably one of the best books I've come across when it comes to fasting. Really great approach. It's not about not eating for 3 days. I highly recommend the 12 and 12 or the 16 and 8. But again, it's about you. The one thing that's different as the hard is there's no alcohol at all. That's the unconditional piece or non-negotiable. And then there's no cheats. But you have to decide what those no cheats look like. So maybe no cheats means no processed foods. And that's what you're going to commit to for those 75 days. You decide what your no cheats look like. So you choose a program and you stick with it. Notice I didn't say a diet. You're not choosing a diet to stick with. You want to be able to sustain these healthy choices for years to come. So if you're going on a diet, it's not a healthy approach. It's thinking about ways to eat healthier and cleaner and fill your body up with good stuff. All of them focus on water. So, the 1 liter is for the starter, 2 liters is for the soft, and then the 4 liters is for the hard. And then this is the big change between myself and the other ones. So the bare minimum is to read 10 pages of a nonfiction or 5 pages for the starter. But this can also be skill development. So it doesn't have to just be 10 pages of a book. This could be 18 to 20 minutes a day that you spend in developing a skill set. So let's say you want to learn a new language. Maybe you're going somewhere and you want to learn how to speak Spanish. if you spend the next 75 days, 20 minutes every single day committed to learning Spanish, you're developing a new skill set, and that's the goal. So it doesn't necessarily have to be 10 pages of a nonfiction book. It just needs to be 10. It could be 10 pages of reading about something that you want to learn about, or maybe you're taking a course and you're learning something new, right? Maybe you've always wanted to do woodworking. This would be learning every single day around woodworking. So you're taking something and you're choosing to learn about it, or you can just choose to read a series of nonfiction books that are about self-help and self-development. So choose something that is close and personal to you, that you want to see that you succeed in over those 75 days. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, hello@innerfitstudios.com, or reach out to me on our social media platforms at InnerFit75, and I will help you along with this challenge. And feel free to join us and be part of our online Facebook community. I welcome anybody who's watching this to take part, and I'm really grateful for Andy Frisella for creating the hard version of this, because I think he's done a great job in helping people understand about creating habits and making this not just about diet and fitness, because those who know me know that I can't stand that kind of stuff. I really just want people to see improvements in self-development, improvements in their confidence, feel better about themselves, and take on things that are a little bit hard, and embrace being outside of that comfort zone, because you deserve to live outside of that comfort zone, because that's where all the cool things in life actually happen. So thank you for listening. Reach out to me anytime.